you show up at Slack. It's now a year post-launch, maybe a year plus a month of interview kerfuffle. What did Slack look like? What was the tech stack there that you had walked into?
A lot of just PHP everywhere. Just like a lot of PHP and like some files that were like thousands of lines long. Libchat.php, shout out to libchat.php. That file was
Thousands of lines of PHP.
5 to 6 thousand lines long of just PHP, just like, and really like defensively written PHP, right? Like, because there was no type annotations for anything. And so it was like, if this stuff I got in is like total garbage, let's see what kind of garbage it is, right? Like, is it a null? Is it a zero? Is it a false? An empty array? Because also everything's arrays. And so every single function essentially had these like checks and these like log errors if you reach this sort of point and it's the wrong combination of things. And then you do your best to do the thing that you were supposed to do in that function, and you return it. And it was all like very like procedural, right? Like there was no like object oriented anything. It was truly just like a 5 to 6 thousand line long PHP file with just like function, name of function,
That
and some stuff in it.
it is wild to hear that that is the like developer experience of showing up at Slack, especially given, as you said, the product experience of Slack is just 180 degrees different from that.
Oh yes. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Like 100%. But I think it's not. What was really interesting is that like I think my personal experience going into it, especially coming from like a very like Java centric backend world, was that if you just did like a command F, you could find things.
That makes a ton of sense. Like that's easy to explore.
It's easy to explore. The naming was like actually not that bad. The naming patterns of like, oh, like this function's in like this file because it starts with that name, right? Like lib chat format. It has all the functions named chat format, blah, blah, blah. And like from that name, you can probably figure out what they do. And so it was like pretty easy to like trace your way through things. It wasn't necessarily easy to make decisions, like step back and make decisions about the whole ball. But if you were like tasked with like, oh, there's this weird bug, go fix the bug, it was like, okay, well, like let me just like trace through and like figure out like which null check got omitted. Because inevitably it was like at some point it becomes null for some reason. And then we
Yeah,
just try to spew it back out. It's like, okay, where does that happen? Okay, it's here. We forgot the null check here. Like, ideally, add a test. See how you're feeling about adding a test, and then like push the fix and go. And so I think it like made for very like quick iteration early
and
on, which I associate with like the quality of the product, the fact that like people really cared deeply about how good the product experience was. And you had this like really fast development cycle. And so like you could make a PR, merge it, deploy it to click the deploy button, which deployed it to 100% of production within like 30 seconds or something absurd. And then see it for yourself too. Like, oh, I fixed the bug. Like my Slack doesn't do the thing anymore. Um, I mean, the whole like deploy to 100% of production within 30 seconds is a little scary. And even the most well-intentioned changes that are reviewed by the most senior people sometimes don't go so well.
I joined Slack about 2 weeks after we decided to not do that, and in no small part
Oh,
because Slack
wait.
decided to not do this anymore. I was part of a group of people that showed up and were asked to think about how to fix that, in addition to, of course, everyone else who worked there. But that
Yes.
wasn't for several years after the
Mhm.
point we're talking about.
Yeah, this is like all 2 years later.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can live in that state for a really long time. It turns out that it
Yeah.
depends on what you want to focus on.
Well, also,
Uh,
you can undo fast. That's
yeah,
the thing.
absolutely.
You can ship out the change that breaks absolutely the entire planet, but you can also undo that change equally fast.
Yeah,